restore the funding that was cut to education. But there are other things that we must implement. I believe that we need to raise the dropout rate to 18 years old instead of 16. I believe, and this might be the most important detail, we have got to hold the parents accountable for their children. We have illiterate children that get passed from grade to grade to grade. Not only does accountability need to begin with the parents, but who in the school board are we holding accountable? Why are we continually passing these children when they're illiterate, when they can't add, when they can't read, when they can't write? Again, we have a broken system, and I believe that we can blame that on the career politicians, the people who have been running this state and running it into the ground.
Second question. How does the candidate for governor propose to get Illinois out of its financial bind? A, without raising taxes, or B, by raising taxes, and which taxes would be most likely to be raised? Mr. Cohen, since you were last, we'll start with you first.
Well, I believe that the best way to move Illinois forward and boost the economy is not by raising taxes. If we raise taxes, even the 1% or 33.5% equivalent that Governor Quinn is talking about, we will drive more businesses out of this state. So how do we rebuild our economy? We have got to bring the businesses back to Illinois. We do that by investing $500 million into an enterprise fund, just like the state of Texas. The state of Texas is number 3 in the nation. The state of Illinois is number 46 in job growth. Not only did they invest that money into an enterprise fund, they removed a lot of their fees, fines, and penalties. Since 2002, the state of Illinois has implemented over 300 fees, fines, and penalties against businesses. We have got to be a more business-friendly state. Again, by bringing the businesses back to Illinois and putting the people back to work, we are creating revenue in a progressive way. By raising taxes, it really is regressive.
Yes.
We need to lower taxes to solve the problems of the state. Right now, we have a revenue problem. I mean, we do not have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. We cannot seem to stop the spending, and we spend more than we bring in. Now, we can increase our revenues, but not by raising taxes. The interesting thing, if anybody knows anything about something called the Laffer curve, it's a bell curve. At a certain point, you continue to raise taxes, you actually go down the curve, you lower revenues. So we need to lower taxes to actually increase revenues. But we also need to lower taxes on business. I agree with Mr. Cohen that businesses need to come back to Illinois rather than go out. In order to do that, we need lower regulations and lower spending and lower taxes. When they have a safe haven here in Illinois, they will bring jobs back, and that will spur economic activity, causing an increase in sales tax revenue. I propose we get rid of the tax on cigarettes, the tax on alcoholic beverages, reduce or eliminate the motor fuel tax. These things will cause people to want to come into Illinois and spend their dollars here rather than go to Indiana or Iowa and spend their dollars there. It's a very simple issue. Do we want to save the state government, or do we want to save the taxpayer? You, the taxpayer, are the ones that are being pinched by inflation and too much spending by the state government. So let's lower taxes and give relief to the citizens of Illinois.
Okay, thank you. We have a $10+ billion structural deficit in Illinois. If we were to literally try to balance the budget by cutting spending, It would, basically, you're talking about 40% cuts on top of the already devastating cuts to our schools and public services in Illinois, which, by the way, hurts small businesses, many of whom are dependent upon state funding. And it would cost us about 128,000 jobs during a recession. That is not an option. We have to, I agree we need to do a forensic audit. That will save some money. But we cannot balance the budget without increasing revenue, and we need to increase revenue. We have one of the most regressive tax systems in the United States. That's the problem. It's not that there's no money in Illinois. We tax the wrong people. When you combine all taxes in Illinois, the bottom 20% are paying triple the rate of the top 1%, people making $1.5 million a year. We need to flip that around. That's why I support a measure like Senate Bill 750, the program of the Responsible Budget Coalition, supported by over 200 organizations. That's why I would like to see us impose a financial transactions tax on speculative trading at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the Board of Options Exchange. Trillions of dollars being gambled. You want to talk about taxing gambling? Those are the two biggest gambling houses in Illinois. And it's not taxed at all. A minuscule tax on speculative trading on those two houses could raise billions of dollars to help pull us out of the budget hole. Those are only two of my ideas. Thank you.
And since you went last, you will go first with this question. What is your stance?
Are we doing rebuttal?
Yes, you can do rebuttal if you like to. Would
Yeah.
the gentleman like to do rebuttal first?
Well, yeah, I would like to make a statement in rebuttal. But what's the rules on that? 30 seconds?
It's 30 seconds, but the other two will rebut first.
Okay.
So would you like to rebut, Mr. Cohen?
Yes, I'd be glad to make a statement here, and that is that it's ludicrous in my mind to think that we can continue to increase spending and increase taxes and solve any of our problems. We can go through line by line and lower spending and come up with more than the $10 billion. We can come up with much more than is necessary to balance the budget. And I again say that by lowering taxes, we actually will increase revenues. We can easily solve these problems with lower spending.
Mr. Coleman.
And I respectfully disagree with Rich. Again, we are in a tax and spend society, and it is not working. Until the day comes when we end the corruption, the waste, and the pay-to-play politics, until we fix our house in the state government, we cannot fuel the fire. When we raise taxes, that's the fuel.
Thank you.
Yes, we hear a lot about being business friendly. What business wants to come to a state whose public schools are falling apart, where you can't get a decent education, where the cost of higher education becomes more and more unaffordable, where people with mental illnesses are being kicked to the curb out of community settings and out onto the streets where they end up in jails? What kind of business wants to go to a state that's not taking care of its children or its elderly citizens and the people that need to be cared for by social services, many of which are delivered by private small businesses, or where health care providers aren't being paid on time?
The next question. Mr. Green, you will go first. What is your stance on the DREAM Act? Do you support it, or are you against it? You may answer.
Starting with?
You, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I support the DREAM Act. I realize that immigration is a very sensitive issue. It's actually really more of a federal issue than a state issue. But I believe that if a person is in this country and they do certain things to serve this country and they end up going to school here, that we should make the pathway to citizenship much easier. For that reason, I would be in support of the DREAM Act. My fuller stance on immigration policy, again, may be found at my website at whitneyforgov.org.
Mr. Cohen.
Immigration really is a federal issue. Unfortunately, because of a lack of standards, there are a lot of illegal immigrants in the state of Illinois. My stance is this: I will never separate families.